Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new revenge stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
First one is titled, Tailgate and Honk on a Single Lane Street. How'd that work out for you? This happened a few months ago as I was driving my work van, the biggest Mercedes Sprinter you can drive without a commercial license, around Amsterdam delivering groceries. This story takes place on a single-lane road with high curbs on both sides that takes you from one neighborhood to another. Speed limit is 50 km per hour, although it could have been 70, in my humble opinion, except in some tight corners. Now I've driven here so many times before that I feel comfortable doing 60-ish, just a bit faster than normal without the risk of getting caught speeding in an urban area. Suddenly I hear a loud beep behind me, and wouldn't you know it, it's a BMW. What a surprise. I think to myself. I was quite impressed by my ability to guess the brand of this automobile, because everything forward of the rear doors wasn't visible in my mirrors. The tailgating and honking continues for a little while until I spot the perfect opportunity to teach this IKEA pencil-equipped douche a lesson, a long straight section in the road. For those of you who haven't been to the Netherlands before, our government loves two things, taxes and using those taxes to build speed bumps. As such, we have a wide variety of speed bumps, and this straight section was equipped with my personal favorite, the bus bypass variant, a trapezoid block just wide enough that a normal car has to pass over it with at least one wheel, but a bus can pass over it unobstructed. I've had plenty of practice with these obstacles and line up for a flawless pass while accelerating to a mind-numbing 70 km per hour, the BMW still glued to my rear bumper. I pass over the obstacle without the slightest inconvenience. The oblivious BMW driver, however, hits it in the worst possible way, launching himself into the ceiling of his car and grinding his oil pan as the suspension compresses. After that he kept a good distance. Next one is titled, I got his mum to kick him out over cigarettes. So my fiancé and I were together for a total of 6 years. We were high school sweethearts, but about halfway through the relationship things got bad. Like, really bad. He would consistently threaten suicide whenever I tried to leave, and always guilt-tripped me into staying with him for years, even though I was miserable and we were arguing very frequently. Eventually, I called him on his bluff and ended things for good, and surprise surprise, he didn't actually harm himself. Later on, I started dating someone else, and once my ex heard about that, he absolutely lost it. He was spamming texts and messages on social media, calling me, wanting me to take him back. He even tried his old trick of threatening self-harm if I didn't, but I put my foot down and told him I wasn't going to be manipulated by him anymore, and also told him I was happy now and to leave me alone. I blocked him on everything I could, but he didn't stop there. He then took to my boyfriend's Facebook and started messaging him all sorts of nonsense, saying he needed to break up with me, even going as far as lying and saying I cheated on my current boyfriend with him. Fortunately, my boyfriend didn't believe him, but I was still livid. So some additional background info, my ex still lived with his mother at the time. He also smoked, which I didn't like but tolerated. His mother, on the other hand, despises smokers. Her father died of lung cancer, so she always went on about how she refused to have any smokers under her roof, and even said before that if her son started smoking she'd kick him out. That didn't stop him though, he just had to hide it. He always smoked at my house or in his car when we were out, but never anywhere he could potentially be caught by his mum or one of her friends. One time he'd left a pack of cigarettes in his room and he lied and told his mum they were mine, as if she and I already didn't have enough issues. From then on, he always kept his cigarettes with me, stashed in my purse, at my house, in my car, anywhere. Most of the time he'd finish half or most of a pack, hide it with me but forget and go buy another one. So I had loads of packs of cigarettes around, which gave me an idea for some revenge, not just for the years of misery he put me through, but also attempting to sabotage my new relationship. I went and gathered every last pack of cigarettes I could find around my house, under the seats of my car, everywhere, and once I was done I had filled an entire grocery bag with half-empty cigarette packs. I drove over to his house and rang the doorbell. He never answered the door. He was living a hermit life in the basement, and his mum answered. I handed her the bag and said, just dropping off the rest of X's stuff, I thought he might want these back, and left, giggling like a small child all the way home. Later that week I heard from a mutual friend that his mum has actually kicked him out of the house, which honestly I wasn't sure if she really would. She's notorious for not following through on threats. But turns out she was serious, so then X had to crash on a co-worker's couch. No one else wanted to let him stay with them and was frantically trying to find an apartment. I feel like it was kind of a whole move to get someone kicked out of their own home, but damn if he didn't deserve it in my opinion. Next one is titled, Be a Condescending, Dickish Vegan Trying to Order Carry-Out? Enjoy a decidedly non-vegan meal when you get home. I never really believed in the stereotype of the condescending, holier-than-thou vegan. I figured it was an invention of omnivores that like to make fun of vegans and project some kind of judgmental attitude on them. And then I met her. She came into this really solid Asian fusion restaurant that does carry out. She was talking to her friend, and the gist of the conversation was that she was appalled that she was even in this restaurant. The food didn't even count as vegan, since they also served meat. In fact, for the 10 minutes that I knew her, she basically had nothing nice to say about anyone or anything. It was pretty spectacular, listening to one person manage to say nothing nice for 10 minutes. She could win gold in the A-hole Olympics. I'd been standing in line patiently waiting to place an order, with one person in front of me. As she walked in, that person finished ordering, at which point she breezed by me like I didn't even exist. I'd like a tofu lo mein. The woman behind the counter looked at me, and I coughed politely. I'm sorry, I was here first. This elicited the biggest, most, how dare you waste my time, eye roll I've ever seen, and she wordlessly stepped back. I ordered a chicken fried rice. Then she ordered her tofu lo mein, and we stepped back to wait for our food. 10 minutes later the first order popped up, at which point this woman, mindlessly chatting with her friend about how much someone they both knew is a total witch, swiped the order without thinking and without a thank you, and stormed for the door, in a desperate hurry to ruin other people's evenings somewhere. My first thought was, isn't it likely that my order finished before yours? And I almost said it. And then I realized she was storming out with a meal she really didn't want. The next meal popped up about 2 minutes later. I grabbed it knowing there was a solid chance it was tofu, thanked the very nice woman behind the counter, and left without stopping to open it, afraid that if I wasted a second's time that angry shrew might have stormed back in and corrected her oversight. I triumphantly ate a tofu lo mein back at home that night. Well, I ate the lo mein and picked around the tofu. I don't know if that harpy returned demanding her correct meal, or if she just got home, realized it was chicken fried rice, and threw it away dejectedly. I just hope she felt some level of the misery she seemed to enjoy forcing on everyone around her. Next one is titled, You Wanna Wear Tough Guy's Pants? Good luck cleaning them tomorrow. I work as a bartender in a small cocktail bar for some time now, and I'm usually chill. But bullies can still push my buttons in a wrong way. Before starting, I may be in the wrong for doing this, but it is what it is. A week ago, a bunch of guys came for a few. They seemed like okay dudes, early 20s, but the group dynamic was kinda off. Introducing the main antagonist. Obnoxious guy, too loud, snapping his fingers at me when ordering. Don't snap fingers at bartenders, kids, we're not dogs. Punching his friends in the shoulders all the time. A sportier, really aggressive version of a David Spade character he was. Next to David Spade, sat the victim of most of his playful teasings. Silently enduring his crap, I really felt sorry for this fellow. He wasn't a drinker, but he looked like he would rather be drinking distilled devil's pee than continue sitting next to this macho maniac. He was really uncomfortable. David continued to bug him to take a shot at least. Come on, one with me, don't be a pussy, a witch, until, after whole night of persuasion, finally my dude waved the white flag. Okay, let's do one shot together, then leave me be. Two of your most ducked up shots, Spade shouted, snapping his ducking fingers, while I imagined snapping his ducking neck. Oh, you'll get a ducked up shot, buddy. I made this 2 layered shots, but while looking almost the same, they were different. David got stuff like Red Jacques Seno Absinthe 75% alcohol, Stro 80% alcohol, Tabasco 110% flaming diarrhea, really nasty business altogether, and other guy got mostly syrups, juices, harmless stuff. They looked almost identical. Red absinthe can pass visually as a cranberry juice, Stro as a syrup from brown sugar, Sambuca as anything colorless, etc. They took their shots and all hell broke loose. Other guy chugged his shot like a champion, not even flinching. Why would he? He drank juice. But David Spade, boy, oh boy. He looked like he'd have a brain aneurysm. Tears pouring from eyes, coughing like his lungs want to come out. He had a face and a posture of a man who just got waterboarded with some sort of chili sauce. Other guy looked surprised until he caught a wink from me, but David Spade and the rest of the crew, now roaring with laughter about his misery, suspected nothing. They got their shots on the house, poor dude was left alone, and David was a good boy for the rest of the night, deflatedly enduring small mockings from his fellows. Now, I may have used my powers in a wrong way, but this is the first and only time I messed with customers' drinks. And I regret nothing. He was rude, aggressive even, to everyone around him. Duck you, sporty David Spade. Next one is titled, I gave back my cheating ex his handmade gifts in a very thoughtful way. Boyfriend cheated. Let's call him Tate. I was blindsided because we were together for 6 months, close friends for a year beforehand. Cheated the entire time. He told me so many times how serious he was, wanted to get married, had kid names picked out, etc. Lying piece of crap. Even begged me not to block him, but of course I did. He handcrafted these wall shelves for me out of wood and materials from this junkyard he works at. I threw away everything in my house that reminded me of him, but the dumpster just didn't seem right for these damn things. The morning I dumped Tate, I downloaded Bumble an hour later as an unhealthy distraction. I matched with my ex, we'll call him Austin, that I had blocked for several months during the relationship, literally 10 minutes after creating the profile. To clarify, he paid $2 to super swipe me. Austin and I pretty much grew up together. Cutting him off was basically me losing my best friend, but hey, gotta do what's healthy for your relationship. Till it ends. Whatever. I word vomit everything to Austin. Hey yeah, so my boyfriend was cheating on me the whole time, and he got super verbally abusive after I nursed him back to health after a car accident he was in a few months ago, and then he borrowed my car to go cheat on me while I was recovering from a brain injury last month. Oh, and my grandmother passed away, so I'm going through some crap. We meet up to catch up, and when I'm hanging out with him I come up with my diabolical plan. Me, hey Austin, can you go to the junkyard that Tate works at and donate these shelves he made for me? Tate and Austin have never met, but Tate has seen pictures. He hated Austin for obvious reasons, the main one being that Austin is older by a few years and generally speaking has his life together compared to Tate. What better way to send the shelves back to him along with, in the flesh, the man he apparently hated? Austin agreed immediately. Saw the poetic justice I did in it as well. Austin goes first thing in the morning to donate them. Austin and Tate lock eyes at the gate of the junkyard while Austin is parked in his car, and Tate I guess immediately realizes who Austin is and tries to walk away. Austin honks his horn at him and shouts, "I'm donating some shelves." Tate slowly turns around and yells, "Put 'em in the dumpster," and runs off. Austin exits his car and goes into the facility to make his presence known and is greeted by 4 unhappy employees. Austin tells them he's donating shelves. They glare and point him in the right direction. Austin gives them to the intake woman and tells her, "Oh, someone who works here made these. When he sees them, he'll know," and drives away. I know he's not hurting at all from destroying my trust, but at least I got to ruin your day by sending Austin to your workplace and having your co-workers wonder what the duck was that all about, you a hole. P.S. If anyone can tell me why people beg you to put your walls down and let them in, beg you not to leave at least 3 times during previous fights, tell you they don't even know how to betray anyone as close to them as you, call you their best friend, introduce you to their family, talk about the future all the time together, and then take a ducking sledgehammer and destroy your heart, I'd really appreciate it. Next one is titled, Be Friendly and Considerate at the Grocery Store. I was doing some basic food shopping this afternoon at my local grocery store and I wanted to get a bag of salad mix. I head over to that section and there's this woman going through every single bag of romaine lettuce, touching every romaine heart, and pretty much had her head and shoulders all the way in the bottom shelf of the fridge looking for, I guess, the perfect bag of lettuce. I'm trying to be patient and I wait a good minute and I politely ask I can quickly reach over and grab the bag of salad mix. I know she heard me but ignored me. I wait a few more seconds and I ask again. This apparently made her quite mad and she started telling me that I need to wait and she's almost done and I'm so rude and some other stuff that was hard to hear through her mask. I grabbed what I needed and moved on while she stared me down in a huff. I went on to continue my shopping as I caught another glimpse of her staring me down. A few minutes later I passed her again going through the tomatoes and touching every one of them, not exaggerating. I went behind her, grabbed the romaine lettuce out of her cart and put it right back in the fridge and mixed it in the others for good measure. I walked away with a big grin on my face and went about my business. Next one is titled, Disobeying Rules Because You're in a Rush? Time for a lesson in patience. I went down to my local Robinsons today because they had a sale on Pepsi Max and my boyfriend is addicted to the stuff. It's actually quite far out of my way but I have nothing better to do, being furloughed is boring. So I make my way to the checkout, scan my 8 bottles of Pepsi and join the queue of people making their way to the exit. I'm stuck behind 2 short ladies walking very slowly, one seems to be leaning on the other. It seems the leaning lady has some sort of disability, so I make sure to stay at a safe distance in case she stops suddenly and I have to go around her. So I'm moseying along when Mr. Silverhair appears. Right next to me. There was much less than a meter between us and despite our masks, I was peeved that he wasn't obeying social etiquette by respecting social distancing guidelines. He was trying to cut me off to get around the 2 ladies, but was blocked by a display. I happily retook my spot in front of him and continued the slow pace set by the ladies. I could sense the frustration of Mr. Silverhair and it delighted me. At the exit there are 2 doors to choose from. The ladies chose the left door, so I chose the right. I was quite enjoying the slow, calming pace so I continued it for as long as possible. Mr. Silverhair was even going in the same direction as me. How fortunate. I made my way to a trolley bay and he stomped past me. Very petty but I certainly felt satisfied. Next one is titled, Give My Daughter a Hard Time for Damaging Her Own Property? Not on my watch. Today I got a call from the school my 9-year-old attends asking to please come up to the school because my daughter was in trouble for vandalizing another child's property. This surprised me because my daughter is a bit of a goody 2-shoes and never gets in trouble, so I dropped what I was doing and swung by the school to find my daughter sitting in the principal's office grinning ear to ear. I was ushered in to take a seat. The principal immediately launched into a tirade about how my daughter had deliberately broken another girl's necklace and how unacceptable it was. Once he was finished, I turned to my daughter to hear her side of the story. Last year my daughter saved up her pocket money to buy best friend necklaces for her and this girl. I ordered them from wish.com for her. This year the friendship went belly up when I discovered this girl was trying to extort her friends including my daughter into buying her expensive items on a kids game with threats, backstabbing my daughter and threatening anyone who dared play with her at lunch, so she was completely isolated. My daughter cut off contact and has been rebuilding her friendship circle, and all was going well until this little girl started repeatedly demanding that my daughter give her the other half of the friendship necklace so she could give it to someone else. The fact we were the ones that bought the necklaces, to begin with, was apparently a minor irrelevant detail. My 18-year-old niece and nephew are very protective of their young cousins and were quite upset for her, so they decided to offer her the opportunity for therapeutic destruction. Last weekend they got out their tools and helped my daughter shatter the charm into 7 or 8 pieces with a hammer, some pliers, and had a great time. My daughter put the pieces of the charm in her jewelry box as a reminder of what fake friends can do to you. Anyway, apparently this girl kept demanding the necklace every day, hassling her, so my daughter hatched a plan. She gathered up the pieces into a little bag, took them to school today to empty the bag in front of the girl, and told her she was welcome to the necklace as long as she likes jigsaw puzzles, but she will probably need some glue. Apparently the girl went red and stormed off to the teacher to say that my daughter had destroyed her necklace, and my daughter was sent to the office. I couldn't keep a straight face and burst out laughing. You could see the vein in the principal's forehead pop out as he looked at me laughing. I pulled out my phone, showed him my purchase history to confirm that we bought the necklaces and my daughter is perfectly within her rights to destroy her own property if she so wishes. He finally dismissed us and my daughter skipped back to class laughing hysterically. My niece and nephew are quite proud and planning to take my daughter out for ice cream this weekend to celebrate her standing up for herself. Next one is entitled A Hole Calls Police Over Laundry. This story took place during my sophomore year of college. All the washing machines and dryers were shared among the residents of our building. I had switched my laundry over to the dryer and was heading back to the laundry room after an hour, expecting my laundry to be finished and dry. When I got there, my clothes had been already taken out and they were completely sopping wet, not to mention they were carelessly thrown on top of the dryer and a lot of my clean clothes had ended up on the floor. This meant that some a-hole had decided that they were just more important than others and taken my clothes out just to put theirs in. The dryer cycle was just about finished, so I took their nice dry clothes up to the highest floor of our building and threw them back in the washing machine so that they would have to find them and redo their whole laundry cycle. I thought that would be the end of it, but when I came back later that day there were 3 cops around the laundry room, which always seemed like overkill to me. I asked the RA what the cops were there for and he told me that somebody had tampered with a resident's clothing and that the resident had called the police hoping they would investigate further. They left after a bit and as far as I know, no investigation ever took place, but that night every resident was sent an email saying how we must always respect each other's belongings and to never touch someone else's laundry. I still cherish that email. Last one is titled, My Aunt Ruined My Dinner, So I Ruined Hers. My petty revenge story is a little gross, so I apologize in advance. I have a intolerance to most meats. Red meat is the worst, and beef is particularly bad. Doctors recommended I try to get my protein from alternative sources if possible, so I've happily been a vegetarian since I was 13 or so. When I was younger, my aunt did not believe the doctors, and thought I was just being fussy. We come from a meat and potatoes town, so she had plenty of friends backing her up on this. This is the same aunt who convinced my parents I was faking asthma. Turns out, I wasn't, shocker, and also refused to get her own daughter glasses because she thought she just wanted them for attention. She later discovered her daughter's eyesight was atrocious. Another shocker, I know. The whole family regularly had dinner together, taking turns hosting. When it was my aunt's turn to host, she assured me my burger was meatless. As you probably guessed, it was not. I was starving that night and gulped down my beef burger first. My aunt was smiling, and I thought it was simply because I liked her cooking. Looking back, I realize her little smirk was because she thought she had caught me in a lie or achieved whatever her end game was. Well, a few minutes passed and I got that familiar, unpleasant feeling in my stomach. It was then that I realized what she had done, and why she was smiling. When I eat meat, I almost always get sick. I just can't hold it down. Thanks for listening.